Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, November 9th, 2021. As always, we're coming live from the Sirius Star System studios right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I hope all is well with everybody. So it is another week, and we are out and back at it again. I am so excited. You know, I honestly, I love doing this, guys. I really do, and I appreciate all you guys who watch it, and you know, it's just one of those things to feel good to get back, you know, and yes, I know I use the good word, but it does. It feels nice to be back and begin healthy to the point where I'm able to do some stuff and actually, you know, connect with you guys again. And I just want to say I really appreciate it. So we have a homeless clothes drive, or not a clothes drive, a homeless food drive coming up at the end of November. We have decided that this year we're going to start passing out on Thanksgiving hot meals, like a hot Thanksgiving meal, you know, with turkey, stuffing, cranberries, you know, the whole stuff. And so we decided that Caleb and I that figured that we can, you know, give some hot meals to people that on Thanksgiving. So if you guys would like to donate food or cash, if you guys live in the area and you want to donate food, please hit us up on Spirit Communities. And if you guys want to donate cash, if you don't live around here, or even if you do and you just want to give some cash, please find our GoFundMe link in Spirit Communities, and we will greatly appreciate it. But always remember that no matter what you're going through, no matter what's happening in your life, you know, there are people without and less than you, and it'd be nice for somebody to show that they care. And with your donations, no matter how small or big, it would greatly help a lot of people. Okay, so all right, guys, as always, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, now D Live. Yes, we are on D Live. If you're not familiar with D Live is just like Twitter, or not Twitter, Twitch. And it's kind of it's a nice streaming app. It doesn't have so many restrictions as Twitch does. And also, we're also now on DTube. But DTube is not live, so that's going to be a replay one. But DTube is just like YouTube, if you've never heard of DTube. And it's also one where they allow more free speech, where it's not so controlled, and they kick you off. So we're on all these social media platforms. And, of course, if you want to hear the replay, you know, we're on iHeart, Spotify, Soul and Spirit Guide, iTunes, Google, Stitchers, Podboy, Podtail. Yeah, we're on a lot of stuff now. So, all right, guys, so you can always find us wherever. So the thing that I want to talk about this week is that we are, you know, one of the things that we had a show a long time ago, and I actually don't remember the date, but I know we did a show maybe a couple years ago. It was called The Journey of 1,000 Lives. And what we talked about, I'm going to kind of go over some stuff because it's been a long time, and I know some of you guys probably haven't listened to that show in particular, or maybe not at all. And, you know, a lot of people always ask me, oh, you know, Miss Raina, why do we live so many lives? Why is there, you know, why do we reincarnate? And if I even understand what reincarnation is, because a lot of people will say that. They'll say, well, I don't even know if that's true. How do I know that what I'm living isn't just it? Maybe I got one life and that's it, and that's all. Well, you know, the past 2,000 to 3,000 years has really changed the way we perceive things. When humanity first started, as the experiment it was to be able to help the Anunnaki and different people, what ended up happening was after a period of time, we kind of lost touch with things. We could kind of decide that, hey, you know, we thought we were older than we were. We thought that we can control more. And of course, you know, greed and different things came into power. And what ended up happening is we created these things called religion and ideas and everything like that. And it really changed the way we understood things. Before, we understood that, you know, that it was self that was the connection to everything, and that we all are connected to everything, and everything is just one big reflection from one source, and we understood things like that. Now we have been conditioned over the last 2,000 years because people wanted control to understand that what we're chasing in life is to appease an idea or to appease a god, a goddess, or whatever it is, and that we are below, that we are like these slave type of ideas of souls, and there's this being out there that's the owner or the king or queen or the ruler of the universe, and we have to appease it by being good or by being, if we be bad, then all of a sudden we go to this dark place. And we've really lost touch with the understanding of who we are and why we're here. And it's funny because this is part of the reason a lot of times, and we're going to get into fated lives, because yes, everything that we're going through is kind of fate. You really have very little control over things. Even the decisions that you make a lot of times are fated decisions. That's the reason why you make them. And that's the reason why for many of us, we're unwilling to change. And how many times have you guys heard me say that, there's no sense in talking to someone that's unwilling to change, because that's their fate. That's the way that's the way their structured of lives are meant to be. And so we have to sit there and we look at things, and we have to look at who we are, and to be able to understand what it is we're going through and why we live so many lives. And I will answer one question, because I know that a lot of people want to have this answer: is how many lives do we live? Do we live more than 10,000 lives? Yes, we live a lot more than 10,000 lives. And the funny thing is that you guys have to understand that as you guys are living life, see, a young soul looks at it and says, because we don't understand and we're in separation and we have lost touch with who we are and why we're really here, and these ideas that we call gods and angels and demons and good and bad and right and wrong, because we don't truly understand it. We look at being here on earth as something to get rid of, something to escape from. We often talk about, ever since the movie The Matrix came out, how many of us hear all the time, oh, the Matrix, and they don't really understand what the Matrix is. But at the same time, at least they got kind of a concept that there is something called the Matrix. But we're not trying to escape life. And that's the difference between someone that understands why we're here and someone that doesn't. Someone that doesn't looks around this world and says, oh man, there's good and bad and dark and evil and right and wrong and all this judgment. This person should do this. This person should say this. On social media, I'm already seeing people say, oh, well, it's Christmas, not happy holidays, because that's hate. And because they think that their holiday is being taken away. But if they really understood where everything came from, they would realize that their traditions that they're so on about is actually something that's caught up from traditions way before they even began. And so this idea of trying to escape Earth, trying to escape the reality of the third dimension, is something because we don't understand it. And we're not here to escape the third dimension. We're here to experience the third dimension in the fractation that we are of the light of who we are, the consciousness of who we are. You can call it a God, you can call it universe, you can call it whatever you want. But we are all from the same source, because we are that source. And understanding that source, understanding why we're here, and understanding why we chose to develop through the third dimension to help our souls grow and go through so many lives, so that we can learn to do one specific thing, and that's create. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But a lot of people wanted to ask me, well, why about past lives? And this was, we talked about a little bit from last show. Well, why is it so important to know the past lives? And I'm going to tell you guys, to be honest with you, it's not. It really isn't important to know your past life. It's important to know the information that you've learned from your past life, but it's not important from the past life. But because we are inexperienced, because we are young, and we have been conditioned to these ideas, we think of it as cool. Hey, it's cool when someone remembers their last life. I don't know how many times when I talk about it, I hear people say, wow, Miss Raina, that's so cool. I wish I could remember my past life. Well, for one, you are very capable of doing that. But two, why is that cool? What's so cool about it? Okay, I remember something. Does that do anything for me in my life today? No. The only thing about our lives and why we remember them and why we have glimpses is to help us grow through evolution, to regain consciousness, or not regain consciousness, to grow in consciousness, so that we can evolve And that's really what our past lives bring. We carry all the information from everything from life to life to life. Some people say, well, and I hear this all the time, well, all the information's in the Akashic records. Well, yes, but the Akashic records are part of us. We are that thing. And this is why we are so confused, because we see everything as separation. We think of an idea of a god or goddess as separate than us, or an angel or a spirit guide, or whatever it is, animals versus humans. We think of it as separation. Me versus you, we're separate. But really, we're one and the same. Right now, you are experiencing the illusion as this is real. Because in reality, what we're doing is, as source, we are taking the light and bending it and causing it to fractate to the point where it bends and it distorts things, so that we can learn to develop the idea of who we are. Because when we first started, we asked the question, what? Well, who am I? Well, in order for us to understand who we are, as we've talked in other shows, we've had to split, right? We had to split from 1 into 2 to form the second dimension. Then in order to branch out, we had to go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? 9 being where what we call God or the divine or the universe, whatever we want to call it, source, whatever. But in order for us to understand that idea, we have to look at it and experience it here in the third dimension. In order to say, well, if I'm consciousness and I'm everything and every idea at all times, well, I want to experience that. I have to experience that. So in order for me to do that, I have to take myself, which is this idea, and split myself apart. When I split myself apart and I bend the idea of who I am, I can create thousands, millions of pieces of ideas that I call souls or lives. And so I can be from one source. Like, let's take my hair, right? All of these hairs on my arm are from one source, my body, right? They're not separate. They're not different. They are my body. And so each one of us is like that. We're splitting ourselves to experience. Each one of these hairs is going to tell me some information. They're going to experience wind change, maybe cold or hot water or something, or the sun hits it, and it's all going to experience something different. But yet, it all relays back to who we are. So the importance of us knowing that that our past lives has nothing to do with what is going on in our current life, other than bringing in the information that we are here. So yeah, it's having the knowledge to understand something. Yes, the past, you can say it always affects everything, because yes and no. I mean, true, 10,000 lifetimes ago, does it really affect me? Yes, in some way, but not really, because there are certain things that I have learned that I don't need anymore. But the information that I want to bring today to teach you guys, to help everybody, and that is the information that is useful. So yes, that affects us. That affects our ideals. That affects how we do, because every one of us gets our slate wiped, right? As soon as we're born, it's like the first life all over again. We've never realized that we've had multiple lives. We don't even realize or remember who we are and what's on the other side. And so we come up with these ideas of heaven and hell and man versus woman and right versus wrong and all these things, because we're trying to figure out in our reflection who we are. And in those ideas of having so many lifetimes, we learn to develop a sense of self. And that's how you can tell whether or not someone is evolving or someone is staying stagnant. Because if they're not understanding and they're not trying to realize that, hey, everything that I'm experiencing right now, including doing this radio show, is a reflection of a consciousness that I'm thinking of. I am creating this as I'm in the dimension. 6th dimension, 3rd dimension, whatever. And as long as we are here to create. And so every life we are creating an idea. We are creating a project. It's almost like, it's like creating a painting and having this idea, or I always use the movie, or creating a movie, writing a script to the movie, getting all the actors to play it, and then putting it on and watching it. That's what our lives are like. And so we are creating this process. And yes, reincarnation, our lives, past lives, all these things are popular topics. And why are they popular? Because it's something that we don't know. We love the mystery. I was talking to someone the other day. Actually, it was yesterday. And we were talking about the Titanic. And we're like, it's funny how there's lots of ships that have sank over the course of history since ships have been around, but at the same time, why is that one so captivating? Why does that particular one, the Titanic, so captivating? Well, because it had this allure, right? It was the idea that it was unsinkable. It was the world's largest, grandest ship, and on its very first main voyage, crashed into an iceberg and sunk. Why? Because it needed to. There's always an idea that we have to understand that who we are in order for that to play out. And so you people say, oh, well, that's a coincidence or because of wrong hair. No, that was meant to happen. Those ideas are meant to happen because of creation of the ideas that we need to experience. So this popular idea of understanding our past lives is inquisitive to us because we have to, because we're really telling ourselves, I want to look for who I am. If I get this past information, well, this is going to tell me who I am currently at my life. But it doesn't do that. All it does is going to say, well, it might show you things that you don't want to. It might show you things that maybe you were a murderer. Maybe you killed, 5, 10, 15, 20 people. Maybe you were just such a mean and we've all had lives like that. We've all had lives on all different sides because in order for us to go back to being whole and being one, we have to experience many different perceptions. And so we think that, oh, we're always going to be the Cleopatras or the Julius Caesars or whoever, or just, we're always going to be some famous person. And for some of us, yes, we have maybe been famous in our past. But that doesn't always mean anything. That doesn't make us who we are. So we seek the past because we want us to understand who we are. But when really we should be seeking the present of who we are and understanding the reflections of self in order to understand ourselves. So let me give you an example really quick. Today, I was sitting at Whole Foods, or I was walking around in Whole Foods, not sitting. I was walking around in the produce aisle, and all of a sudden I look around and the energy just changed. And at that moment, I started realizing that everybody, I could see it clear as day, that every single person around me was me in a different form, in a different reflection of light, in a different reflection of consciousness, of creation that was experiencing all different things. We're all in Whole Foods experiencing the same thing, but we're all experiencing the same thing differently, but at the same time gathering information that's going to lead back to the same idea, the same source, which is us. And in that moment, I sat there and I was like, wow. And I don't care how old I am. Every time I come here, I am still amazed by the most simplest things. And I am. The other Venus and the moon were out together the other day. And I gotta be honest with you, it was just captivating. Because those are the things that make us see who we are. And in that moment, I looked at that and I had such compassion for every single person in there because I realized that every single person is me experiencing a different form, a different perception of the same thing that I'm experiencing. And it's all being calculated and grown back to the same source, which turns to us and says, hey, this is who we are. This is how I know who I am. How do we know who we are is the big question, right? If we're having all these lives and we're trying to figure out who it is, who we are, why we're experiencing things, then that's something we need to know. We'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back, and if you're just joining us, this is part 2 of a journey of 10,000 lives, part 2. I guess part 2. So let's ask ourselves, who are we? Who are we at this very moment? Who are you? Do you understand who you are, why you're here, and what you're here to do? And I'm not saying you're here to be a painter, you're here to help people, you're here to, be a doctor or a florist or whatever. I'm saying, what are you here to do? Why are you here? And that very fundamental is why we come with so many lives. Every life builds into another life. If we only had one, I want you to think about this. If we only experienced one life, one time, I mean, think about the last, well, I can't say 5,000 years, but because our society has basically erased anything after Christianity rose. All of life, all of culture before Christianity has been literally wiped out because they want you to think that the only thing that exists is that idea. So let's just say the last 2,000, 2,500 years, okay? So think about how much has changed in medicine, in ideology, in science, in mathematics, and the way we live, the way we think, the way we look at the technology we have. Think about that idea. If we only experienced one life, one time, and that was it, and consciousness ourselves said, well, hey, I experienced one life multiple times, a million times at one time. Could we learn? Could we grow? Can we actually answer all the possibilities of who am I? Because as of right now, do you know who exactly you are? Do you know everything about yourself? And if you say yes, well, I got to be honest with you. I think that's not being truthful with ourselves, right? Because in the idea of saying, well, I understand everything about me, then you wouldn't be here. If you are here on earth, it's because you have chosen to come here to understand yourself more, because that's what we're here for. Hey, as old as we are, that's what we are here to do. No matter how many lives you live, and the older you get, you understand that. I love coming here to the third dimension. Is it challenging at times? Yes, it is, because that's what the third dimension is. It is all this information bent and manipulated so to block you, to put up walls, or I want to say structures, but they're not really structures, but to put up walls or structures so that you can reflect of who you are and learn. You guys call it pain and suffering. You guys call it, injustice. You call it all this stuff because you have this idea of good and right and wrong and bad and fairness and injustice. But really, it's not that. In order for us to truly see who we are, we have to be able to go have multiple lives of things happening to us. Because if we don't experience it, then we don't understand it. And that's important, because this information helps us understand the evolution of self. Because if we're sitting there and understanding our ideas of why this is important to us, the information, first of all, is never lost. Because a lot of people say, I hear this all the time, you're just going to die anyways, right? Well, that's a young soul that doesn't understand or have respect for itself at all. Because anybody that can sit there and say, well, I'm not going to take care of myself because either God's going to do it for me, or I'm going to either get cancer or disease because God's going to do it, or I'm just going to die anyway. So that's because they haven't learned to develop themselves. They haven't learned to develop self-love and appreciate why they're here. I got sick. I was ill for 2 years, actually for 5 years, but really ill for 2 years. I could have said, well, hey, you know what? I'm an older soul. I'm an ancient soul. I've already lived a lot of lives. I don't need to be here. I could have said that. But I love coming here. I love learning, as challenging as it is for me at times. And as, I love being here. There's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of things in the third dimension that we experience in this form of consciousness, this form of illusion that we call life. And when you start to connect with self, because that's really what it's about. We are these beings of information. You have to realize that when we start to grow, we are a being of information. We are beings of geometric shapes that are, and same with the universe, that are turning and splitting and multiplying and changing in order to, and constantly growing in order for us to say, hey, we have to, what is it that I can learn next? How can I create more universes? How can I create more experiences? How can I create more realities? And so we can't possibly lose any information that we've ever experienced. That is why I've told you guys from square one, when people say, oh, just let it go. Well, you can't let it go. You can never let it go. You will never let go of information, because everything is written down, everything is recorded, and you need it. You need it in order for our souls to be able to grow and evolve through consciousness. It's one of the hardest concepts for us to understand, because we've been told there's one God, there's one devil, there's angels, there's demons, there's this. If you act like this, you're going to this place. If you act like that, you're going to another place, and you better do it. And so it tricks us into thinking that that instead of getting to know ourselves, we spend all of our time, for many of our lives, appeasing these ideas. There's things like there are so many things that are planned out, and fear allows us to create this illusion that keeps us stagnant. Like when most people say, I feel stuck. How many of you guys feel stuck? How many of you guys sit there and you say, well, I just feel like my life isn't going anywhere. I feel stuck all the time. Well, that's fear. Fear creates an illusion that you're stuck, that you're not going anywhere. It's driven by your inability to want to grow, to want to do research, to want to find yourself. Because remember, everything is about coming back to self and asking myself, who am I? What am I about? Who am I through all these experiences? And in order for us to understand that, fear is the main thing that allows us, fear and pain is the main thing that creates those walls that we have to learn to get over. Right now, we're going through COVID, right? There's if you actually look at the statistics and you actually look at things and you understand what's really going on, then you won't fear it. But because we don't want to go into ourselves and we don't want to look at ourselves and work on ourselves, we do the same thing that we do with everything else. We just take what other people have told us, we believe it, and we create so much chaos out of it because that is what we plan to do. Our lives are pre-written by ourselves. Everything that you experience, we have very minimal, as I was saying earlier, we have very minimal free will. There is very minimal free will. And I know that, and what we consider free will to be is not what we think it is. I often say, well, yes, you have choices in free will when it comes to certain ideas. And yes, that is true to a point. But most of what we're talking about is the free will to create. Because right now, you're only a creator through another dimension, through what we call when we pass on and we go back to our original form and everything, we have the free will to create the lives that we need to create in order to play out the movie that we need to star in. And so once you come here, it's like going on a roller coaster. When you go to Six Flags Great America or wherever, and once you get on that roller coaster and that person pushes the button and that roller coaster takes off, you are a slave to that roller coaster. And that is exactly what it is for life. You, the creator, are the operator. When you're over there, you create the experience, the life, the people you want to be around, everything. And then you put that creation onto a roller coaster and you push that button and you let it take off, and we call that life. Because you're a slave to it right now. And people often ask me, well, Miss Raina, if we're a slave to it, how do we change? How do we change our lives? How do we change society? How do we change these things? Because if my life is going and I can't do anything about it, well, then what's the point of me trying to do anything or change anything? And that's the understanding that we have to come to. It's not that we're a complete slave to everything. Like I said, we do have some free will. We have, but if we grow, when we reflect inside and realize, oh my God, I am the power to make the changes that I want, then all of a sudden free will gets larger. One day, one lifetime in the future, you will have multiple lives where once you realize that you are the creator and solely the creator and nobody else is in charge of you, there is no higher power or God out there that's manipulating you, that you are that source and you are that powerful creation, then when you come here, you will be able to do things like that people call magical. People call, like you hear these beings like Buddha and Jesus and all these things that people are like, oh my God, they're so enlightened. It's not that they're enlightened, that they realize that we are self, we are the creators, and we have a connection to everything. One of the biggest things that I always say is, have you ever, for you pet owners, do you guys ever have pets and you can look in the pet's eyes and know what they want without them even moving? They just look at you a certain way, or they sit there and they look at you and you know exactly what it is. And it's not always treats. It could be a lot of things. It could be attention or going outside or whatever, but you know exactly what it is. And that's because you have that connection. You allow yourself to connect to yourself, because animals are nothing more than another reflection of who we are. Oftentimes, they're meant to remind us to be kinder, to be gentler, to be more compassionate, to be more forgiving. I hear all the time people say, well, you know, Miss Raina, I love animals more than people. Well, yeah, you know, because you don't understand the process. Because animals come here to remind us of who we truly are in our own reflection. But we don't understand that. We think, oh, animals are separate than us. We're on the higher food chain, so they're going to do what we say. And then, of course, you know, they're there to give us love and affection when we need it. That's not it at all. It's to remind us of ourselves and who we truly are at source. And so we take so many lives. We take tens of thousands of lives trying to figure this out. And we may not be here on Earth. You may be on different planets. You may be in different galaxies. You may be in different dimensions, all experiencing this idea. I know that's a hard concept to get, because coming here to Earth, we think that Earth is the only planet in the world, in the universe, that has intelligent life on it. But I will tell you this, there are many more species that are way more intelligent than people here on Earth. And that's not a knock to humanity, because humanity serves its purpose. Humanity gives an idea of allowing other high vibrational beings to connect from the third dimension into the sixth dimension. So everybody has their place. There is no, just because one set of beings are able to access different dimensions, different places, different things, doesn't mean that Earth humans are lonely, lonely people on the totem pole. It's not like that. But they know that in order for them to access certain things, humanity serves its purpose. Yes, we were created by the Anunnaki, and that's where we get the idea of, hey, of that we were created in their image. It wasn't an actual God that was saying, hey, this is me, I'm creating you in their image. We have that interpretation misplaced now, but yeah, humanity itself. But again, that gave another form of understanding to self, to say, hey, I have a way to expand my consciousness even more and experience it in a different form now. If you look at a tree And you take life and you say, okay, well, and you plant the tree, and the tree is skinny and it has a few branches, and it grows. And it grows every year, and every year it gets bigger and bigger. More branches come out, more leaves come out, right? And so think of life like that, that the source of who we are is the trunk, is the whole tree, the roots, everything. And every time we want to expand our consciousness and grow into something bigger and learn something deeper, we make another branch. We extend, and consciousness, it's light. We beam out another thing of light, and then we bend it and fractal it, and to the point where it creates distortion, so that we're able to create more ideas of experiences. But if those tree branches are out and all those little leaves, think of them as people, as beings all over the universe. In order for us to grow, in order for us to experience life, we have to grow many limbs. We have to grow many leaves. We have to grow that. So is a leaf or a branch different from the tree? No, it's the same thing. You don't sit there and say, wow, there's the leaves and there's the tree. You don't sit there and say that. You call it a tree, including the leaves, branches, twigs, big trunks, everything, the roots. You don't say, oh my God, look at that trunk. Oh, and look at its leaves. Look at its branches. You don't separate it. So that concept has to be understood. In order for us to grow, we have to have those many lives. And those fears that we experience, the fear that's going on right now with these ideas like COVID and all this stuff, there's always going to be those things, people. There's always going to be some type of disease out there. There's always going to be some type of drama and chaos and stuff, because that is how we learn to grow. It's up to you to say, whoa, I'm seeing this in my reflection, and I'm seeing and I'm understanding self. I took time from the COVID breakdown in order for me to reflect on who I needed to be, in order for me to heal the experiences I had here in this lifetime and in a couple of my Egyptian lifetimes. I had to heal certain ideas in order for me to be able to present myself in the way I'm going to be what we call the future, and even now. And so instead of, and that's the point of taking so many lives, is coming to the point of saying, whoa, okay, I can see what is happening. I can choose not to get involved in an idea, because now I am the creator. Since I am the creator of my lives and all the lives been, that means I can create endless possibilities in this lifetime now. So what is it that I wanted? Well, I wanted people to be happier. I wanted people to feel loved. I wanted to show the love that I had inside myself with others, and to show them that they had it in with them. And let me tell you something. Since I have healed those things, and since all this mess where everybody else is fearful of dying and COVID coming back, when everyone's buying into the Kool-Aid, and that the choice of creation, which is us, was, hey, you know what? I want to show love. I want to show growth. I want to empower those that don't understand life. I want to teach people the information that I get from my channel through my experiences of connecting to self. Because see, even though I say channel here, the channel isn't here. The channel's here. Because this is the universe. This whole thing is the universe. This is what the information gives us. And so, yes, we always think, oh, channel here, because, it opens up into information, because we have this idea that everything is up here, like this light over here above me. It makes it look like there's a glow, but everything's up here. No, everything's not up there. It's around us and through us and in us. But fear allows that separation. It divides us. It does not allow us to grow into who we are for the understanding that we need it to be. All right, guys, we'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, if you're back and joining us, we are for part 3 of this show. And yeah, I mean, guys, I hope you're getting some of this. And even if you don't understand this, which I know that some people, once you start hearing about dimensions and beings and other things, some people turn off because we're taught that. We're taught to shut down anything that's not, because that's the idea of buying into the misunderstandings of who we are. We are meant to judge. We are meant to buy into the lies. We are meant to be fools because it teaches us how not to be fools. There was a situation even with Caleb today, and I'm not going to go into the situation, but he mentioned, he's like, you know what? He's like, I now see that I do this because something happened. And I said, of course. I go, you wouldn't have seen it if you didn't do it. And that's it. But if you can catch yourself, if you can find the strength and the courage to be able to look at yourself and say, wow, I right now am buying into the fears. I'm buying into the lies. You know what? I'm egotistical. I'm a liar. I manipulate stuff. Whatever it is, whatever challenges you came here to do, if you can truly look at yourself and say that and start to face that stuff, then you start to be able to see who you are and why you're here, because it's only through ourselves. Most people spend thousands of lifetime pointing the finger. Have you ever taken responsibility for yourself? Have you ever said, nope, it's my fault, I did it? I deal with things all the time where people constantly lie to me. Hey, even if I have proof, even if I have picture proof or written proof of showing them doing the action, they still deny it because nope, you guys are trying to witch hunt me, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you did this. And it's because of the unwillingness to understand life in itself and see that separation is not true. Because you guys know how I talk about duality and polarity all the time, how there's, a positive side and a negative side. And yes, the positive doesn't mean good and God and light, and negative doesn't mean bad and evil and the devil. But it's polarity. In order for two sides to experience like the third dimension, we have to have the polarity for us to understand that. And because people are unwilling to look at themselves and learn at things, they only want to see one side of things. They're either stuck on one side or the other. And the people who want to be positive are just as guilty as this, because again, it shows that they don't understand what positive means. Positive means that and the masculine energy in lives, and you'll learn to develop this as you go. But masculine doesn't mean male, I'm better, I'm stronger, I'm going to do that. No, masculine energy and feminine energy work together for a purpose. Feminine energy, the earth, there are certain energies that is the creation of thought. In order for us to live, we have to create it. If you are an artist or a painter or a musician, words just don't magically come up and say, poof, I got a song, here it is. It doesn't happen that way, right? You have to sit down and create. Well, that's feminine energy. And I don't care that you're a guy. That doesn't mean that, I mean, if we're really that sensitive of saying, oh, well, I'm a guy, I don't need masculine, or I'm a woman, I don't want masculine energy, then we don't understand, because that stops us from creation. So you have two polarities, a positive side and a negative side, creating life itself over and over and over. And we need that. We have to create the negative side, the feminine side, what we call the dark side is the creation of life itself. And the positive side is the side that enforces it. It is the side that acts it out. So before we live here, we are created in the negative energy, the dark side, the feminine side. And then the positive side, the masculine side, the light side, enforces life and lives the life as it needs to be. That's why we are both made up of positive and negative polarity in the third dimension. That is why we have those ideas. That is why, me being gender fluid and non-binary, that is why I feel like that, because I can feel, there are times I feel very feminine in this life. There are times I feel very masculine, but a lot of times I feel nothing at all, or I feel them both together, because I'm connected with the true form of polarity here. I'm connected in neutrality with self, of understanding that. Guys look at it and say, oh, well, gay people and this and that, and we start judging each other. Even women do it. Women are, I heard the other day, two guys, oh, well, don't ever get married because women suck the life out of you. No, it's actually you're choosing that because you think one sex is greater than the other. And I see women say the same thing. I've seen, oh man, men suck, da-da-da. No, they don't. It's just that we don't have an understanding of duality. We don't have an understanding of this because we're unable to look at ourselves to give the lessons that we need. We don't want to see any of any perspective other than ourselves. And so life after life after life, we have to start learning to build ourselves. One day, all of you will be in this position where you'll be teaching other reflections. I am teaching myself right now. Even though you're listening to me, you are me and I am you, just in a different form of reality and perception and understanding, so that I can learn and teach myself different things so I can get a different perspective. So you're listening to me and you're saying, oh, wow, I get what Miss Raina is saying, or I don't get it, or whatever it is you're saying, but you're gaining experience. You're gaining an understanding from a different perspective through you, because I am you. And that is the understanding of how we do things. So when we look at things, you look all around this board, the computers, everything has a geometric shape, everything. The octahedron is one of the most powerful shapes of the universe, because out of the octahedron, it creates everything. It duplicates itself to the point where it's able to grow and reflect and bend that stuff. Because if we can reflect and bend and manipulate who we are, we create new processes. And that is why it takes us so many lives to live. Because like I said, if we did something one time and that was it. Think about right now. A lot of you feel jaded that maybe you got the life that you got. Maybe you've become disabled or blind or deaf or with disabilities or that. If you got one life, why would that be fair for you to get the life that you did, and then someone else gets, health and good looks and money and everything? No. And because that's a very limited way of thinking of it. We look at ourselves as separate. And we shouldn't. Whenever we get jealous of something or we get upset at something, it's because we're seeing it as a separate situation or a separate perception than who we are. I was talking to two of my friends earlier today, and I made a joke with them a couple of days ago because I was in a goofy mood, and they took something completely different. Why? Because the perception that they had was fueled by the perception that they're living right now, and it created and it created disharmony in them. And then when I tried joking around and talking about it, they took it personally because obviously something's going on with them. And all I said was, hey, maybe that's something you guys need to focus on and look at, because that wasn't my intention. Because in my perspective, I know where we come from. I understand. And so those ideas are looked at, if that makes sense to everybody. So in the perception of life, we have to look at ourselves. We have to say, okay, these old lessons are here to teach us. If I want to grow, I have to learn new stuff. If I don't learn new stuff, if I refuse to put all the pieces together, if I refuse to work through the chakra systems and learn to master every single one, all like 36, 72, whatever, 72 or something. It keeps going up. But if I don't learn to master this, if I buy into the walls and the mirrors and the structures of life that we put in place, and I keep buying into them, even though I'm learning, we're going to keep going back over and over until we learn this, until we understand it. And that's what we call karma. Karma is something that many of us, again, don't understand. We think it's punishment. Oh, karma is going to get you. Karma is going to do this. Oh, I must have been punished in a past life because, because this happened. I must have done something really wrong in a past life, and karma must be punishing me. It doesn't work that way, people. It doesn't. Karma is just, because remember, it is a system of structures. It is, we are that system, putting in place the ideas of who we are in order for us to grow. And that is how we learn life. So it's not that you're being punished. It's not that life is so out of it for you. It's not that. It's that you're refusing to see something other than what you want to see. You're refusing to look at yourself and try to grow. And that's why people are there. And that's why we create this. In those creations that you're living right now, because you are a creation of your own consciousness, of your own soul's consciousness to grow. You're on that roller coaster that you created, that you push the button for, and that. But it's up to you to whether or not to choose to say, okay, while I'm on this ride, do I have enough sense to start looking at myself and realizing that that I'm the creator, that I can change this, that I can manipulate this, that I can bend this and move this and do what I want. Because while the rest of the world is falling apart, the world is beautiful to me. Life is grand. Yeah, I may be 43 years old and I'm still young. I was going through a sickness, but that didn't knock me down. The medication that I'm on, it gets me grumpy at times, and I don't always like that. Sometimes I'm very irritable, a lot of times. But still, I know that it's just temporary, and I know that I can go outside and see the beauty of life. I love doing this radio show, even if one person only watches it, because I appreciate that connection. I love everything about life. Well, everyone else is fearful of dying. Because they don't understand death. What's there to fear? You're not dying. You're not blinking out of existence. When you pass on from this world, guess what, everybody? Everyone dies. You've died, probably thousands of times, tens of thousands of times. And you're still here. You still come back. So you don't go anywhere. But because we don't have information, and because we've bought into that information, we allow those fears to do it. Once you realize that we are the creators, that we are the creators of our own universe, and where there is no separation, there's no hierarchy, you can control and manipulate that energy into doing whatever you want. And that's what I'm doing. I took a life that had a lot of pain and suffering into it, and because I realized that I'm the creator of my own life, I made beautiful things out of it. I help people every day. I do whatever I can. We're creating the homeless, the foundation, to help the homeless. We're doing all sorts of projects. Why? Because I'm creating that. Not because it's just written in the stars, because I know that I have the capability. I'm making sure that when everyone else is spreading fear and hate and judgment, that I'm spreading love and compassion. I'm letting people know that you don't have to judge people. Not everyone's going to judge you. Not everyone's out to get you. There are people that are going to be there for you. And that's creation. And that's what we learn on our journey of 10,000 lives. All right, everybody, that is our show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you guys like the show or love the show or whatever, please email us and write us and share the show. Share tonight's show if you really liked it, if you think somebody else will learn from it. The only way we're going to grow is if you guys help us out, and we'd really appreciate it. Email us at transcendentaltransformations@gmail.com. Follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/transcendentaltransformation. The YouTube channel is the same. Visit my website, soulandspiritguide.com. and sign up for the newsletter to receive special hidden shows, VIP access to the website, and special guest offers when we have them. And guys, always remember to believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities, our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.